So if money is the key to all people's happiness and will solve everything and everyone's doing things for money, let's just make more money.
You know how the internet works. 1 minute you're minding your business, the next minute you're a meme. And sometimes it's not because you dropped a hit song or starred in a blockbuster movie. Sometimes it's just because people saw you do something and said, "Wait, what?" These 20 celebrities found themselves all over Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, not because of their talent, but because their reactions left people scratching their heads, laughing, or just plain confused. 1. Tyrese Gibson.
Don't take my baby. Oh, this is all I got.
Tyrese has been in the Fast and Furious franchise for years. He's dropped R&B albums that people actually liked. He was in Baby Boy back in 2001 playing Jody, a character people still quote today. But none of that is what made him trend in 2017. What happened was Tyrese posted a video of himself crying, like really crying. He was going through a custody battle at the time, and he was clearly stressed out. In the video, he's sitting there with tears running down his face, asking, "What more do you want from me?" Over and over again. His voice was shaking, his face was red, and he looked genuinely devastated. Now, was he going through a hard time? Absolutely. Was his pain real? Probably. But the internet doesn't always have sympathy, especially when something looks dramatic. Within hours, people turned that video into a meme. They started using his crying face for everything. Bad grade on a test? Insert Tyrese crying. Your crush didn't text back? Tyrese crying. Someone ate your leftovers? You guessed it. The whole thing became less about what he was actually going through and more about how he delivered that line. People clowned the intensity of it. They made remixes of the audio. They put his face on all kinds of situations that had nothing to do with his actual life. Tyrese became the go-to reaction for anyone who wanted to act overly dramatic about something small. Even years later, people still bring up that video when they want to joke about someone being too emotional. 2. Kanye West.
Well, how much does the earth cost?
It's not a bad question.
But
how much is the earth worth?
Kanye West is one of the most successful producers and rappers in music history. He made The College Dropout, Late Registration, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. He's won Grammys. He's influenced fashion. But somewhere along the way, people started paying more attention to what he said than what he created. It started back in 2009 at the MTV Video Music Awards. Taylor Swift won Best Female Video, and while she was giving her acceptance speech, Kanye walked on stage, grabbed the microphone and said, "I'ma let you finish, but Beyoncé had one of the best videos of all time." The whole room went silent. Taylor looked stunned. Beyoncé looked uncomfortable, and the internet exploded. That moment became one of the most famous interruptions in award show history. People made jokes about it for years. They used "I'ma let you finish" as a meme format for everything. And Kanye? He just kept giving people more material. He went on interviews where he said things that didn't quite make sense. He compared himself to historical figures. He talked about being a creative genius in ways that felt confusing or over the top. One time, he did an interview where he talked for minutes without really saying anything concrete, just jumping from one topic to another. People couldn't tell if he was being deep or just talking in circles. Then there were the tweets. Kanye would tweet random thoughts at 3 in the morning that sounded philosophical, but also kind of empty. He would post about how he was breaking barriers and changing the world, and people would read it and think, okay, but what does that actually mean? His confusing statements kept him trending constantly. Every time he did an interview or posted something, people would dissect it, make jokes about it, and try to figure out what he actually meant. His reactions to criticism were always unexpected too. Sometimes he would double down. Sometimes he would apologize. Sometimes he would act like nothing happened. You never really knew what you were going to get. 3. Orlando Brown.
I'm 4 years sober for a reason. I just now got out of rehab. I just now got out of ER. I'm not doing no more time away from my kids other than I need to.
Orlando Brown was a Disney Channel kid. He was on That's So Raven, playing Eddie, Raven's best friend. He was also in Major Payne and Family Matters. For a while, he was just another child actor who grew up and moved on. But then he started doing interviews that left people genuinely worried. In these interviews, he would say things that didn't make sense. He claimed he had relationships with people who said they never met him. He talked about Hollywood in ways that sounded paranoid and disconnected from reality. His speech would jump around, he would laugh at inappropriate times, and he would make claims that were easily proven false. One particular interview went super viral because of how strange it was. He was talking about his past, his career, and his personal life, but nothing he said lined up with what people knew to be true. He seemed confused about basic facts. He would smile while talking about serious things and get angry about random stuff. People didn't really make jokes about this one the same way they did with others. Instead, they shared the videos with captions like, "Is he okay?" or "Somebody check on him." The clips spread everywhere, but the tone was more concerned than anything else. People who grew up watching him on Disney Channel were especially confused and sad seeing him like that. The interviews kept coming, and each one seemed stranger than the last. He would contradict himself from one interview to the next. He would make wild accusations and then act like they were common knowledge. Watching the videos felt uncomfortable because it was clear something was off, but he kept putting himself out there anyway. 4. Jaden Smith.
It being made in this unique way, it actually reduces CO2 emissions compared to competitors by up to 74%.
Jaden Smith is Will Smith's son. He was in the Karate Kid remake with Jackie Chan and The Pursuit of Happiness with his dad. He's also made music and gotten into fashion, but what really made him famous online was his Twitter account. Around 2013 and 2014, Jaden started tweeting things that were supposed to be deep, but came across as confusing. The most famous one was, "How can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real?" He typed it with every word capitalized, which somehow made it even more ridiculous. People lost their minds over that tweet. Was he trying to be philosophical? Was it a joke? Was he serious? Nobody could tell. The tweet got retweeted and quoted thousands of times, with people either making fun of it or trying to defend it as actually meaningful. But that wasn't the only one. He tweeted things like, "If everybody in the world dropped out of school, we would have a much more intelligent society," and "School is the tool to brainwash the youth." Again, every word capitalized. Again, people couldn't figure out if he genuinely believed this stuff or if he was trolling everyone. His tweets became a whole genre of memes. People started making fake Jaden Smith tweets that sounded just as confusing as his real ones. They'd post intentionally nonsensical philosophical statements and caption them, "OK Jaden," or use his profile picture. His actual real tweets got turned into jokes so much that it became hard to tell which ones were real and which ones people made up. The thing is, Jaden seemed totally unbothered by all of it. He kept tweeting the same kind of stuff. He would post about consciousness, reality, the Matrix, and other big concepts, but in ways that felt half-baked. He was clearly thinking about something, but whatever he was trying to say got lost in translation. 5. Nick Cannon.
And then, I love working out in that aspect. So that's the thing I get to do for myself that has nothing to do with my actual job.
Nick Cannon has been in entertainment forever. He hosted America's Got Talent for years. He was on Wild 'N Out. He was married to Mariah Carey. He has done comedy, acting, music, and producing. But what gets him trending now is his personal life, specifically how many kids he has. At last count, Nick Cannon has 12 children with 6 different women, and he's been very open about it. He's done interviews where he talks about his approach to fatherhood and relationships, and people online can't stop making jokes about it. Every time news breaks that he's having another kid, the internet explodes. People make memes about him speed-running fatherhood. They joke about him having a new baby announcement every few months. They Photoshop him into family reunion pictures with dozens of kids. They make comments like, "Nick Cannon saw the fall of birth rates and decided to fix it himself." But it's not just the number of kids, it's the things he says about it. He has talked about not believing in monogamy. He has discussed how all his children are planned and wanted. He has explained his views on relationships in ways that make people go, "Wait, what?" During interviews, he has defended his choices and talked about how he can handle being there for all his kids, which only makes people joke more. His statements about his personal life spark debates every single time. Some people think he's irresponsible. Some people think it's his business and nobody else's. Some people just think it's funny. But regardless of how people feel about it, they're definitely talking about it. Nick trends constantly, not for any professional achievement, but because people are fascinated and confused by his life choices. 6. Soulja Boy.
It was the whole football team I seen doing it, and like it was a couple of people off in that, but it ain't like no particular celebrity, who was off like that.
Soulja Boy blew up in 2007 with Crank That, which was everywhere. He was one of the first rappers to really use the internet to build his career. But by 2019, he was more known for his wild interviews than his music. The most famous moment came during an interview on The Breakfast Club. The hosts were asking him about Drake, and Soulja Boy went off. He started yelling, "Drake?" with this animated, shocked expression on his face. Then he went on this long rant about how Drake copied his flow, stole his style, and owed him credit for basically everything. The way he said, "Drake?" became instant meme material. People started using that clip for everything. They'd play it whenever someone mentioned an unexpected name or brought up someone irrelevant to a conversation. The exaggerated shock on his face and the way his voice went up made it perfect for jokes. But that wasn't the only time Soulja Boy gave the internet content. He has done multiple interviews where he made bold claims that people couldn't verify. He would say he invented certain trends or influenced certain artists, and people would respond with, "Did he though?" He once claimed he was the first rapper to do a bunch of things, and people quickly pointed out that wasn't true. He also had this habit of getting into social media beef with random people. He would argue with other rappers, internet personalities, or just regular people who criticized him. And his responses were always over the top. He would post long rants in all caps, make diss tracks on the spot, or go live on Instagram to address whoever was talking about him. People clowned him constantly, but honestly, Soulja Boy seemed to enjoy the attention. He would lean into the jokes, repost the memes, and keep doing exactly what got him trending in the first place. He understood that any attention is good attention on the internet. 7. Kevin Gates.
You know what people say? They say he only sounds smart to dumb people. I'm like, wow.
Are you trying to say I'm dumb?
Yeah.
Kevin Gates is a rapper from Louisiana who's known for being extremely honest in his music. He talks about his life, his struggles, his thoughts, all very openly. But sometimes that honesty crosses over into territory that makes people go, maybe you should have kept that to yourself. He has gone viral multiple times for interviews where he says shocking things with a completely straight face. One time, he talked about his relationship with his cousin, not like a distant cousin, his actual cousin. He explained it in detail during an interview, and people were stunned. The clip spread everywhere with people reacting in disbelief. Another time, he was at a concert and kicked a female fan. The video showed him performing, then suddenly kicking someone in the front row. When people asked him about it later, his explanation was basically that she grabbed him first, so he reacted. The video went viral. People debated whether it was self-defense or excessive, and Kevin Gates just moved on like it was normal. He has also talked about some unusual personal habits in interviews. Things about his diet, his beliefs, his lifestyle that make people raise their eyebrows. But he always says these things so casually, like he doesn't understand why people would find them weird. The confusing part about Kevin Gates is that he seems genuinely unbothered by people's reactions. He'll say something wild, people will freak out about it online, and he'll just keep going about his business. He has given so many viral interview moments that people expect it now. Whenever he sits down for an interview, people wait to see what shocking confession is coming next. 8. Keke Palmer.
Hi, it's me, Keke Palmer, your new president of the world. Today, I'm going to be finding out which laws I'm going to pass now that I'm in charge.
Keke Palmer has been acting since she was a kid. She was in Akeelah and the Bee. She has been on Broadway. She has hosted talk shows. She has done music. She's talented and has been working consistently for years. But what made her go super viral was a simple, hilarious moment of honesty. During a red carpet interview, someone showed her a picture of Dick Cheney, the former vice president. Keke looked at the picture, clearly had no idea who he was, and said, "Sorry to this man," before moving on with the interview. That clip became one of the biggest memes ever. People used "sorry to this man" for everything. Anytime someone didn't know a celebrity, a politician, a historical figure, anything, they'd quote Keke. The phrase became shorthand for "I don't know who that is, and I'm not embarrassed about it." What made it so perfect was how unapologetic she was. She didn't try to fake like she knew him. She didn't get embarrassed. She just said sorry and kept it moving. That confidence made people love the moment even more. Keke herself thought it was funny. She reposted the memes, laughed about it on social media, and even referenced it in future interviews. She turned what could have been an embarrassing moment into something that showed her personality and made people like her more. The moment showed that sometimes going viral for something unexpected isn't bad. Keke's "sorry to this man" became such a big cultural moment that it probably got her more recognition than some of her actual professional work. 9. Blueface.
Shit. What kind of car you had at the time?
I had a Benz.
What?
Yeah.
How long you been
Quite a while.
Blueface is a rapper who got famous for his offbeat flow. His song Thotiana was a hit, and people noticed him because his rapping style was so unusual. But after that initial success, he kept trending for reasons that had nothing to do with music. He has made confusing statements in interviews where his logic doesn't quite make sense. He has gotten into messy public situations with multiple women. He has posted things on social media that made people question his decision-making. And through all of it, he seems genuinely confused about why people are criticizing him. People clown him online constantly. They make jokes about his choices, his statements, his whole approach to being a celebrity. Every time he does something, people are already waiting to turn it into a meme or a joke. He has become the type of celebrity that people watch specifically to see what messy situation he'll get into next. 10. Chris Brown.
This happened to me. I didn't cause this. I didn't do it.
Chris Brown is an incredibly talented singer and dancer. His debut album dropped when he was just 16. He has had huge hits like Run It, Kiss Kiss, Loyal, and many more. He can dance like Michael Jackson. By all accounts, he should be known mainly for his talent. But his public incidents have overshadowed his career multiple times. The most significant was his assault on Rihanna in 2009. That incident sparked massive online debates and criticism that continued to this day. Every time he releases new music or appears somewhere, people bring it up. Over the years, there have been other public incidents and controversies. fights with other celebrities, aggressive social media posts, legal issues, angry outbursts. Each one sparks a new wave of online discussion and criticism. People debate whether he should still have a career, whether he's changed, whether people should support his music. His reactions to criticism often make things worse. Sometimes he'll lash out on social media. Sometimes he'll post and delete things. Sometimes he'll seem remorseful. Other times, defensive. The inconsistency keeps him trending because people never know what version of Chris Brown they're going to get. 11. Raven-Symoné. Raven-Symoné was a child star who seemed to have it all figured out. She was on The Cosby Show as a kid, then became the lead on That's So Raven, which was one of Disney Channel's biggest shows ever. She was in the Cheetah Girls movies. She had a successful transition from child actor to adult entertainer. Everything seemed fine until she started doing interviews as an adult. In 2014, Raven did an interview with Oprah where she said something that made people's heads spin. She said, "I'm not African American, I'm American." People were immediately confused. Oprah even looked surprised. Raven went on to explain that she didn't want to be labeled and that she was just American, not African American. The internet exploded. Black Twitter especially had a lot to say. People were confused about why she would distance herself from her heritage like that. They made jokes, they criticized her, they debated whether what she said even made sense. The clip got shared everywhere with people adding their commentary about how disconnected the statement seemed. But that wasn't the only time Raven said something that left people scratching their heads. She became a co-host on The View, and during her time there, she made several comments that sparked controversy. One time, she said she wouldn't hire someone with a ghetto name. People immediately called her out, pointing out that she herself has an unusual name and that her comment seemed judgmental and classist. Another time, she talked about not wanting to be labeled as gay, even though she was in a same-sex relationship. She said she was tired of labels in general, which some people understood, but others found confusing, given that she would just spent time talking about not wanting to be labeled as African American either. Her comments about race and identity kept coming. Each time she did an interview, people would brace themselves for whatever confusing take she was going to share next. She talked about colorism in ways that seemed to contradict her other statements. She discussed her heritage, but also seemed to want to distance herself from parts of it. The confusing part was that Raven seemed genuinely unbothered by the backlash. She would say these things, people would react strongly, and she would just keep going. She didn't seem to understand why her comments upset people or why they found them contradictory. 12. Lil Pump. Lil Pump burst onto the rap scene as a teenager with Gucci Gang, a song that was catchy but also incredibly repetitive. He became famous fast, but not necessarily for reasons that suggested longevity in the music industry. His interviews became instant meme material because of how he carried himself. He would show up looking disoriented, give answers that didn't make sense, and generally seem like he wasn't taking anything seriously. One interview in particular went viral where he could barely string together coherent sentences. People weren't sure if he was just really young and immature or if something else was going on. He made decisions that left people shaking their heads. He dropped out of high school and seemed proud of it, talking about it like it was a badge of honor. He got face tattoos while still in his teens. He would post videos of himself doing reckless things and acting like consequences didn't exist. His antics on social media were constant content for people making fun of him. He would say things that showed he didn't really understand basic concepts. He would make claims that were obviously false. He would get into situations that seemed avoidable if he would just think things through for a minute. People started using him as an example when talking about the current generation of young rappers. They'd point to his behavior as evidence that being young and famous without guidance was a recipe for disaster. His name became shorthand for immaturity and poor decision-making. But Lil Pump seemed to lean into it. He would repost some of the jokes, he would continue acting the same way, and he didn't seem bothered by being the punchline. Whether he understood that people were laughing at him and not with him was unclear. 13. Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish had one of the most inspiring come-up stories in Hollywood. She struggled for years, lived in her car at one point, and kept grinding until she got her big break in Girls Trip. Her performance in that movie made her a star overnight. She was funny, charismatic, and had an infectious energy that people loved. But somewhere along the way, that energy started reading as chaotic to some people. She would tell the same stories over and over in interviews, especially the one about a celebrity biting Beyoncé. She told that story so many times in so many different interviews that people started getting annoyed. It felt like she was milking one moment for all it was worth. Then there were times when her behavior at events seemed off. She would show up to award shows and do things that felt attention-seeking in ways that made people uncomfortable rather than entertained. One time she hosted the MTV Movie Awards, and her performance was so all over the place that people couldn't tell if it was supposed to be funny or if something was genuinely wrong. Her jokes sometimes crossed lines that made audiences cringe. She would say things that seemed inappropriate for the setting or the audience. What worked in a small comedy club didn't always translate to bigger, more formal events, but she would deliver the same type of material regardless. She faced backlash for certain incidents that seemed avoidable. There was controversy around a TV show she was involved with that dealt with kids and situations that people found problematic. She initially defended it, but eventually apologized after the criticism mounted. The whole situation left people questioning her judgment. 14. Azealia Banks. Azealia Banks is genuinely talented. Her song 212 showed that she could rap, had a unique style, and brought something different to hip-hop. She should have had a much bigger career than she ended up having. But her behavior on social media completely overshadowed her music. She became more famous for her Twitter feuds than for any song she released. And we're not talking about occasional disagreements. We're talking about constant, explosive, dramatic fights with other celebrities. She would go after rappers, pop stars, actors, anyone who said something she didn't like or sometimes just because. Her rants were wild. She would post dozens of tweets in a row, insulting people, making accusations, bringing up random past situations. She would use offensive language, make inflammatory statements, and generally burn every bridge she had in the industry. Then she would delete everything and act like nothing happened. The list of people she's feuded with is absurdly long. Iggy Azalea, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Zayn Malik, Rihanna, Lady Gaga, Lil Kim, and countless others. She's gone after people for cultural appropriation, for their music, for their looks, for things they said years ago. There was always something setting her off. What made it even more confusing was that sometimes she would make valid points in her rants. She would call out real issues in the music industry, or pointed out legitimate problems, but then she would undermine her own argument by saying something offensive or attacking someone personally. People couldn't take her seriously because even when she was right, she would go too far. She's been banned from Twitter multiple times for her behavior. She would create new accounts, get banned again, and the cycle would continue. Each time she got banned, she would complain about being silenced, but the reasons for the bans were usually pretty clear violations of the platform's rules. Her unpredictability became her brand. People would check her social media just to see what drama was happening. But it also meant that nobody wanted to work with her. Industry people were scared to collaborate because they didn't know when she might turn on them publicly. She essentially sabotaged her own career through her online behavior. The sad part is that every now and then she would release new music, and it would be good. People would be reminded that she actually has talent, but within days she would be in another social media fight, and that would be the story instead of her music. 15. Boosie Badazz. Boosie Badazz is a rapper from Louisiana who's been in the industry for over 2 decades. He's made music that resonated with people from the South and built a loyal fan base. But his comments in interviews and on social media have repeatedly gotten him in trouble and sparked intense online debates. He's made statements about LGBTQ+ people that have been widely criticized. He's talked about sexuality in ways that people found offensive and ignorant. When other celebrities came out or supported LGBTQ+ rights, Boosie would often go on rants criticizing them, and those rants would go viral for all the wrong reasons. His comments about women have also sparked backlash. He has said things about how women should behave, what they should wear, how they should carry themselves, and people have called him out for being misogynistic. But he doubles down on these statements instead of reconsidering them. He's gotten into feuds with other rappers over various issues, and his responses are always aggressive and unfiltered. He doesn't seem to have a filter between his thoughts and what he says publicly. Whatever he's thinking comes out, regardless of how it might be received. 16. DaBaby. DaBaby came up fast in the rap game. His breakout year was 2019, and suddenly he was everywhere. He had hit songs, he had a distinctive flow, he was booking major festival performances. Everything seemed to be going his way. Then in 2021, he said something at a music festival that tanked his career almost overnight. During his performance at Rolling Loud, he made offensive comments about gay men and people with HIV/AIDS. The comments were shocking, ignorant, and completely unnecessary. They had nothing to do with his performance or his music. He just decided to say them between songs. The backlash was immediate and severe. Other artists called him out. Festival organizers dropped him from lineups. His collaborations got pulled. People who had been supporting him distanced themselves. It was one of the fastest falls from grace in recent rap history. What made it worse was his response. Instead of immediately apologizing and taking accountability, he initially doubled down. He posted confusing statements on social media that seemed defensive. When he finally did apologize, it felt forced and came too late for many people. 17. JT. JT is one half of the rap duo City Girls, and she's become known for her unfiltered personality on social media. But sometimes being unfiltered leads to moments that make people laugh at you rather than with you. She has had several viral moments from interviews where she said things that were factually incorrect, or showed she didn't know something she probably should have known. These weren't major things, but they were funny enough that people turned them into jokes. One time there was confusion about something she said in an interview, and people couldn't tell if she was joking or if she genuinely believed what she was saying. The clip spread everywhere, with people trying to figure out if it was an act or if she really didn't know. Either way, it became a meme. Her Twitter fingers are also legendary. She gets into arguments with fans regularly, and her responses are always entertaining if nothing else. She doesn't let anything slide. Someone will make a small joke about her, and she'll respond with a full paragraph defending herself. People have learned that if they mention her, there's a good chance she might actually respond. The funny thing is that JT seems to be in on the joke sometimes. She'll repost memes about herself or laugh at her own viral moments. She has a sense of humor about it, which makes people more forgiving when she says something that doesn't quite land. 18. Summer Walker. Summer Walker is an R&B singer who has made beautiful music. Her albums have performed well, her voice is distinctive, and she clearly has talent. But her social media presence and some of her public statements have left people very confused. She has talked about some unconventional beliefs in interviews and on social media. Things about health, wellness, and spirituality that mainstream medicine and science don't support. She has shared theories that made people go, "Wait, does she actually believe this?" Her approach to dealing with fame has also been unusual. She's been open about having social anxiety and not enjoying doing meet and greets or interacting with fans in traditional ways. But the way she has communicated this has sometimes come across as rude or dismissive, even if that wasn't her intention. There was a whole situation where she canceled meet and greets because she said touching people drained her energy. She talked about it in terms of energy exchange and not wanting people's energy affecting her. People had mixed reactions. Some understood and appreciated her honesty about mental health. Others thought it came across as pretentious and ridiculous. 19. Lil' Kim. Lil' Kim had a groundbreaking solo career. She influenced fashion and music in ways that are still felt today. Hardcore and the notorious K.I.M. were important albums. She should be celebrated primarily for her contributions to hip-hop. But in recent years, she has made headlines for reasons that have left longtime fans confused and concerned. Her appearance has changed dramatically over the years, and people have talked about it extensively. She has addressed it in interviews, but her explanations have sometimes made people more confused rather than less. Some of her interview statements in recent years have felt disconnected from reality. She has made claims about her influence and impact that, while partially true, seemed exaggerated in the way she presented them. She has gotten into feuds with other female rappers and made statements during those feuds that didn't quite make sense. There have been performances where something seemed off. Whether it was the vocals, the energy, or just the overall presentation, people who remembered her from her prime were confused about what they were seeing. Clips from these performances would go viral, but not in a good way. The sad part is that younger people who weren't around for her prime only know her from these recent confusing moments. They don't understand why she's considered a legend because all they see are the viral clips that make her look out of touch. Her legacy is being overshadowed by her present-day struggles. 20. Bow Wow. Bow Wow started rapping as a kid. He was discovered by Snoop Dogg, mentored by Jermaine Dupri, and had hits before he even hit puberty. He was in movies like Mike and the Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift. He was a teen idol, but as an adult, he's become more known for things that make people laugh at him. The most famous incident was the Bow Wow Challenge. In 2017, he posted a picture on Instagram showing a private jet, implying he was flying private to a show. But someone found a picture of him from that same day on a commercial flight in coach. The internet immediately dragged him for lying about something so easy to fact-check. People started the Bow Wow Challenge where they'd post a fake fancy picture next to the reality of their actual situation. It became a whole meme trend. Bow Wow became the face of people lying on social media for clout. The jokes were relentless and went on for weeks. But that wasn't his only lie or exaggeration. Over the years, he has made various claims that people have called into question. He has talked about his wealth, his success, his relationships, and people have consistently found evidence that contradicts what he said. His interviews have provided plenty of material for people to make fun of. He'll say things that sound confident but don't hold up under any scrutiny. He has made bold statements about his place in hip-hop history that other rappers and fans have disputed. He's also been dragged for his approach to relationships and how he talks about women. He's made comments that came across as disrespectful or immature. His public relationships have often ended messily with him and his ex airing grievances online. The frustrating thing for people who remember Kid Bow Wow is that he had real talent and success. He could have been respected as someone who successfully transitioned from child star to adult entertainer. Instead, he's known for lying about private jets and making awkward statements. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.